All right, so first and foremost, I'd like to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Kodash. Double honors to the apostles, elders, and teachers of Great Stone. Elders that rule well. From Elder, Apostle Taha and down. Rather, Apostle Rhymer, Apostle Gabar, Apostle Rakah and down. Shalom to you brothers out there pushing the word of the Lord in sincerity and honesty, To you sincere brothers out there that are left, you hopeful elect. It's sad to say that in this time that we're in right now, you have brothers that were brothers rather, men that were brothers, pulling back, saying that, things like they have doubts. It's a script say, as the scripture says, it's a scary thing to fall into the hands of the living poor, for the Lord to take, for the Lord to take back, that spirit from you, right? It did a scary feeling, right? To see that happen, or to know that, it can happen to you, how can you, be having doubt, at this point, in the truth, being spiritual, right? Seeing the things that are happening around you, right? Them demons will come, them doubt demons, but you gotta fight back with the scriptures, right? And that's one of the reasons why you gotta keep, you gotta keep in the scriptures, right? That's just paraphrasing, how should I say, you have to keep in him, and he will keep in you, right? You have to keep living in this water. You have to keep drinking this water, right? The spiritual water, right? You have to keep on, quenching your thirst with it, right? Hence, if you leave yourself careless, as to say, them demons gonna take over, and who knows where you're gonna end up, right? So you just gotta be careful, right? This is Second Ezra. It's Ecclesiasticus rather 2 and verse 12. Woe be, it's a woe be to fearful hands and faint hands, and the sinner that go two ways. Hey, Yahweh Shai said it best, he'd rather you be hot or cold, but you cannot be lukewarm in this truth, right? You gotta be the hot feet, or don't be any at all. Right? It would have been better if you didn't join. Right? Because the scripture says, as a true Proverbs, it says, "Our dog return to him own vomit." Right? That's a situation. And this is we said that's a situation, So it's best, you can't be two ways in this thing, right? If you're having doubts, right, then obviously then the spirit is maybe not with you. Right? I mean, doubtful demons will come, but if you're swayed to the side of the doubt, then you're probably not a part of this truth. Right? Right? And the fact that you're having doubts means you were grounded in the scriptures, right? You were grounded, in these scriptures, and you bring these scriptures out. You can even Paul say it, in just paraphrasing, he do this in basically fear, lest him himself be a castaway, right? So we gotta live in fear, knowing that the Lord, we might not be part of the Lord's elect, but at the same time, you gotta be confident in this truth, right? With all the miracles that the Lord shows us, we gotta be confident, right? Miracles like people not being able, to go around this truth, to sway the doctrine, right? That in itself is a miracle. Right? Because why? Because we didn't go to university, right? The Lord just poured His Spirit, right? And we became, the Lord poured His Spirit, and we became scholars of this truth, right? Right, through the apostles, of course, because they're the one with the heavier measure of the Spirit, and they taught us. Hey, but you see, you cannot have this doubtful spirit going to the time of Jacob's trouble, right? Are you going to break? But you can't have that doubtful spirit, in the time at that, temptation. right? You know, and even afterwards, with the famines, you know, and the chaos that's going on, you gotta have faith. You gotta have 100% faith, right, in the Lord. The Lord's gonna deliver you. Are you gonna be bugged out like them Christians? That's why the scripture said, wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times and strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord is his treasure. And I go again. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Right? So you fear the Lord. You fear the Lord and believe that he's the one who's bringing this chaos. And that if as long, just so as you have faith that he will deliver you, right? Just that's enough for him to deliver you. Right? The scripture says, if you have a faith that a mustard seed, you can move a mountain. Right? Let me continue. Verse 13 says, woe unto him that is faint-hearted, for I believe it not. Therefore he shall not be defended. Hey, you cannot be faint-hearted, right? You got to have confidence in the Lord Yahweh Shemir Shai. Right? Hey, and mark me. I'm not saying you can do that by yourself, because that has to be a spirit from the Lord. Right? Only the Lord can give you that spirit, right? To believe in something that you have not seen. Right? That's a gift. Right? That's a miracle right there. Right? That's a gift of faith. Scripture talk about that in Ephesians. Continue to say, woe unto you that have lost patience, and what will we do when the Lord shall visit you? Hey, as I said, you can't lose patience now. Right? So too many things are happening around us. These prophecies are unfolded. We get into that point. We get into that point where it's gonna be a chaos out here. Right? You gotta be arming yourselves with your Yahweh Shemir Shai. That's what you gotta be doing right now. Arming yourself with these scriptures. Right? If you find yourself, you know, swaying left or right or getting too distracted, then you need to pull closer to the brotherhood. Right? Iron sharpen iron. That's what you gotta do. Right? You gotta harden yourselves in the Lord Yahweh Shemir Shai. Right? Dive in them precept, fast and pray. You know, especially that you gotta fast and you gotta pray. Right? You gotta pray and ask the Lord, you know, not to take the spirit from you. Right? That's where we at. That's what you gotta be doing. Right? You find yourself, you know, getting weary, you need to start fasting and praying and begging the Lord not to take that spirit from you. Go around the brothers. You know, be around the brotherhood. You know, get in scriptures, get on the internet. You know, watch your brothers' videos, you know, for exaltation. You know, to try to build yourself up, but don't let yourself just drift and slide, right? Because it's only gonna wax worse and worse and worse. You're gonna eventually, you know, be washed away out into nothingness, back into the world of nothingness, right? And then what? It's gonna be too late, because you're gonna realize that what you left something for nothing, because there's nothing out there, right? And eventually everyone's gonna know that, right? When all hell break loose and all the hope of this society, you know, whatever life people had planned in this society, they're 30 years down the line, 20 years down the line, 50 years down the line, all that is gonna crumble in front of their eyes, right? Because if it weren't for the Lord and His divine intervention, things still would not have continued as is 30, 20 years down the line, right? You have these men out there, Klaus and friends, you know, getting ready for their next industrial revolution. Right? That a lot of people would not have survived to go on the other side. That's what's happening. You know, whether they want to believe it or not, the economy is rigged to go down. Right? Them nations are rigged to go at war. You know, so supply chain is gonna break down. This food chain is already food supply chain is already breaking down, because the supply is cutting back. You know, not being able to meet demands or barely scraping to meet demands. That's where we are now. Now is not a time, bro, to lose patience. You gotta keep pushing. You gotta keep pushing. You need every time, you know, that them demons come on you, you need to rebuke them with the scriptures. Remember the time that we are in. That, and you see, another thing is that you gotta be watching. You gotta be paying attention to what's going on. As soon as you leave yourself careless, you know, to go out there and fall asleep, and you just bop the eye a bit, you know, things are gonna pass you, and you know what's gonna happen. You're gonna get weary. But if you had caught on to those things, then you'd have give you a little joust to your spirit to say, yes, you know, there's another sign right there. You know, I gotta hold on, I gotta hold firm. Right? But hey, now is not the time to be slacking off. Now is not the time to be losing patience. Now is not the time to be dull-minded. Now is the time to gird up your socks and your laces. You know, get ready to go in that day. You know what? You know, because hey, at the end of the day, there's gonna be mass death. Mass death. And if it is to be that, you know, that we being a hopeful leg after die, then let us die as martyrs for Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Let us die for a purpose. Because you know what? You know what? The majority of people gonna die anyway, and most of them gonna die for nothing. You know, this video is pretty short. You know, a lot of things did come out in information and scriptures. You know, I hope it was edifying. I hope, you know, some brother listen to this video and, you know, pull up their socks and, you know, start pressing forward again. You know, let's not give up. Right? With that, I'm gonna say shalom.